Hello, everybody. I'm so glad that you're here. We're about 5 minutes, actually 4 minutes, according to my clock, away from start time. But while we are just waiting for this final few minutes to pass by, if you could type in the chat box and let me know what your name is and where you're listening in from, I would love to call some of you out and say hello. So type into the chat box and let me know what your business is, where you're living, where you're calling in from, because of the beauties of the internet, you can be really anywhere. For those of you that don't know, I'm actually in Hawaii right now. It's 8:30 in the morning.
And I'm here as well, Scott Olford, and I'm on the the other opposite end, and of course 4 o'clock here in Newfoundland, and very very excited about today.
It's going to be a good time. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Definitely, definitely.
So
So
everybody's
I'm
being
going to.
shy. I haven't seen any
No,
chats yet.
they're under questions.
Oh,
Um,
gotcha.
yeah, so I'm gonna take care of replying to some of these during our next hour or so. And if you have any questions, what we'll simply do is I'll take them down, and then at the end we'll do a Q&A session in which we go over some of those great questions that you do have.
Perfect. And I just want to confirm, can everybody hear us okay? My name is Kay, and I'm on the line here with Scott, so you should be able to hear both of us. If you can type into your chat box and let us know, that would be great. I think Vicky is having a sound issue, and I just want to verify if it's on our end or on your end, Vicky.
All right, well, Robin says we're good. Chris says we're good. Oh, someone says, Drew, is it easier to hear me now?
I'm not sure what that means.
All right. Perfect. All right. Wonderful. I can see that this chat is definitely going to take some time.
Yeah, and for anybody who is paying really close attention, we actually switched our technology at the last minute. We were going to do a Google Hangout and be all cool and hip, but we wanted to make sure this went off without a hitch. And while GoToWebinar has a few weird ticks, it is something that we're both more familiar with. So this is going to be a great event. I'm so glad that you're here. And as I'm looking at my clock, it is about 8:29 here in the morning. So we're just going to get started in just a minute. All right. So let's get started. The first thing that I want to say is thank you so much for being here. I understand exactly what it's like to be a busy professional or a busy entrepreneur, and taking an hour out of your day may feel a little frivolous, but I can promise you that it's not. The material that we're going to cover here today is going to positively impact your business no matter what your goal is. We're going to talk pretty generally about the ways that you can persuade people to take action on your website, whether that is clicking the buy button if you're an e-commerce store, sending in a contact form as a lead, or perhaps making a donation if you're a nonprofit. So, as this slide says, and I hope that you can all see it, you are absolutely awesome. So, thank you for being here. Today, we're going to cover 6 keys to a website that works. And like I just said, when I say a website that works, I'm not talking about if you get a 404 error when you navigate to your URL. We're beyond that point. I think we're all to the point where we have a website. It looks decent. We're okay with it, maybe. Some of you may be itching for a redesign. But bottom line is it's not working the way that everybody says that it should. You don't have the orders flowing in. You don't have people contacting you from all parts of the world wanting to do business with you. So we're going to cover some of the very specific and step-by-step things that you can do to make your website work so much better. We are Infinitus Marketing plus Technology. We're super passionate about helping businesses grow. And this webinar is going to be a free training based on literally hundreds of websites that we've launched in the last couple of years. I would absolutely love if you followed us on Twitter. We are at GoInfinitus. And the bottom line is you're here today because you're not getting the results that you want from your website. So I encourage you to take this time to really soak in the information. Try to shut off the email, the text alerts, really hone in and get value from this message because you're taking the time to be here because you understand that you want to get better results. So let me help you get there and really pay attention and put these lessons into action in your own business. And I know that you'll see great results.
And as a side note, we can see who's not attentive.
We actually can. We can see if you navigated away from the screen.
I saw three people become attentive as soon as I said that.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I'll try to wake you up and shock you with something super valuable if I see that too many of you are dropping off. But I know that this whole deck is going to be a lot of great information because I made it super actionable. So here's what we're going to cover today. You're going to learn the common mistakes that you're probably making with your website. We work with a ton of clients and we see a ton of websites. I know that Scott will agree with me that we see the same mistakes that are hurting your business over and over. We're going to cover changes in website technology.
Yeah, and I mean...
Go ahead, Scott.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. We're going to cover changes in website technology that make your site easier to operate and more powerful. One of our suggested changes can decrease your bounce rate by 20%, which is great because once you have spent all of that energy and time getting people to your website, you don't want them to just leave. That's not cool. And this isn't going to be very technical, to be honest. Scott's a lot more technical than I am, so I'll have him jump in with those types of pieces. But I am all about building a brand that people love and that people care about. So I'm going to focus a lot on those aspects because to me, that's what really matters. It's not going to be the color of the buttons or even necessarily the specific URL that you pick or I don't know. There's a lot of things that people obsess about and they work on optimizing when they get really granular into their website. And those aren't important unless you have the basics down, unless you have the foundation of a fantastic business and a brand that people actually care about. You're wasting your time to figure out how to split test and optimize and do all those things. Start with the first thing, and we'll cover that today. We're going to talk about how to create, or my favorite, how to hire somebody to create website copy that people will actually read. I'm also going to share the counterintuitive truth about creating an about page that turns visitors into fans. I'm not sure if you've looked at your analytics, your Google Analytics recently, or if you even have them set up. But if you have, what it will tell you is that your about page is one of the most popular pages on your website. So if you aren't paying attention to that, if you just pasted up some old bio from some old newspaper ad from a few years ago, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. So I'm going to share exactly how you can convert all of those visitors that see that page into people who care about you and who want to do business with you. We're going to ask the age-old question, which is about, 5 or 10 years old. Do you actually need to be blogging? The answer might surprise you. I understand that you have a business to run. You are an entrepreneur or a manager, and you have this collection of spinning plates where you're just spinning one, moving on, spinning one, and you're praying that none of them fall. Blogging can feel like just one extra thing. So we're going to talk about if it's really important, and I won't give any spoilers, but if it is important, how you can actually get it done. Also, make sure you stick around to the end. We are going to be sharing a free resource for everybody that's here live, and I think you'll find it really valuable. So it's just our way of saying thank you for taking time out of your day. So Scott will be sharing that link later today.
The little secretly bit at the end.
Yes, exactly. We have a secret at the end. All right. I'll try to pay attention to time. I have a tendency of going short and long, so I'm going to try to stay spot on. If you have any questions, be sure to ask them in the chat box. Scott's going to be monitoring them throughout, and then we're also going to spend some time at the end for questions. So I would absolutely love if you ask me specifically about your business and how it applies to your business if you aren't clear on that, because we'll definitely spend some time on those kinds of things. So if you're wondering who I am.
If you're tweeting, use a hashtag.
Yes, we have a hashtag.
Sorry.
Of course we have a hashtag.
Yeah, we do have a hashtag. So if you are tweeting or on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is, use hashtag website that works. And if Twitter works today, then hopefully that hashtag works as well.
Yeah, apparently there's an error, a fatal error on Twitter. But if you can get it to work, I would absolutely love if we created some conversation around what we're teaching today.
Definitely. All right.
Scott, do you want to introduce yourself? Or should I introduce you?
How about this? I'll introduce you. You introduce me.
Perfect.
So Kay is one of the most brilliant marketing and brand strategists I've ever had the opportunity to meet in my entire life. And just so happens that we've worked together, and we have created Infinitus in the past 8 to 9 months. And she's worked tirelessly before I've met her, along with our clients, some of you in this room, in this webinar with us, and she brings the brilliance that it takes to take a website and take a piece of technology and really make people want to talk about it and want to love it at the end of the day. So I think that's sufficient, isn't it, Kay?
I thought that was very nice. Thank you. And I think at least half of you have come from my audience, and at least half have come from the agency's audience. So many of you probably know Scott Oldford, the force that is Scott Oldford. He has been in this business for over 13 years. And if you know how old he is, that's really remarkable. He's a little shy about his age, so I won't share it. But he's honestly the smartest person I have ever met when it comes to websites and getting results for clients. I'm really excited to bring our expertise together for this webinar.
Oh, thanks, Kay.
And don't forget to tweet website that works, hashtag website that works. So the question you're probably asking yourself is, why now? Do I really have to pay attention to this right now? And of course, my answer is absolutely yes. This is why we're taking the time to give you this free training. We're taking an hour out of our day, plus all the time to prepare to deliver this free training, because we believe wholeheartedly, 100,000%, that you need to be paying attention to your website right now. Now is the time. We have this great infographic that says traditional marketing is dead. Online marketing killed it. So this is obviously meant to garner attention, but the truth is people spend time online almost every day. In fact, I know a lot of you are listening in from Canada, and Canadians are some of the most active people online, both in social media and just in general. There's a great quote that you can read on the screen from Guy Kawasaki. He is, if you're in the marketing world, he's kind of the forefather of social media and this whole online marketing thing. And he said, if you have more brains than money, you should focus on inbound marketing. And if you're wondering what inbound marketing means, it's kind of what we're talking about for this whole training. we want to create an asset, your website, that actually attracts people to you, so you don't have to be focused so much on going out and selling people. You don't have to be focused so much on interrupting people's day with a radio ad or a, I don't know, writing in the sky about your business. You can create real value in people's lives, become the entertainment and the education in people's lives, and they'll come to you. How fantastic is that? So Scott, I'm going to hand it over to you. This is just one of our clients that we've worked with recently. I want to highlight some of the successes that they've had.
Yes, exactly. So the Learning Partnership, which I believe, I believe one of the people from the Learning Partnership is actually in this call. But with that said, we started working with the Learning Partnership last year, and they really just wanted to bring their website from something that was a little bit dated, didn't have the functionalities they wanted. But one of the major things that were problematic for them was the fact that the bounce rate on the website was extremely high. People took forever to try to find what they were looking for, and of course, from a donation perspective and a perspective of what the website looked like, it was just not where it wasn't aligned with direction of the organization. So we went through, and this is a very large website. This website's about, I believe, 300 or 400 pages when you keep in mind of English and French. And when we redesigned this website and rethought about it and then organized the content in a way that is user-centric instead of organization-centric, a couple things happened right away. More users came onto this website because, of course, it was being talked about. The second thing is that the bounce rate went down from the last website. These people were finding what they wanted right from the first page. The third thing, of course, is that there was less pages visited. Now, I know that sounds like a thing that may be bad, but think about it in this way. If you go to a website and you go to Google and you type in something and the first search is the one that is the right one, the one that has the information, you don't need to go any further. So we created a website and a presence that instead of them having to look at 6 pages, now they only look at 3 pages as a visit, which is exactly what we want to do. Of course, with the website, the way that we built it with social sharing capabilities and everything sort of baked in, the amount of referrals, the amount of social sharing, and so on, it just skyrocketed right across the board. So I just wanted to kind of talk about from the organization perspective how much that a redesign and an effective website really changes things. And this website, they hold events that have thousands of or not thousands of people, but hundreds of people. I'm going one next week, and each ticket is $350, and every single ticket for the most part is bought here online. And that was a huge part of allowing people to buy those tickets in the easiest way possible, so that hopefully they have a good experience and they send it over to friends or their colleagues to also sign up.
Yep, I'm really excited about the direction that TLP is going, and I'm excited for your business because you can have some of these results too. You can attract more people who are interested in your events. You can attract more revenue, whatever that means to you, whether you're a nonprofit or a for-profit. And I think even more importantly, you can make people care about you. Instead of being a static, old, kind of boring brochure on the web, your website can become this interactive hub for people who are interested in your cause. If you've ever read any of my writing, you'll know that I love alliteration, and of course, this webinar is no different. So we're going to talk about the filthy 5. These are the common mistakes that you're probably making that I don't want you to make anymore. Let's get into it. Nope, sorry, TLP, I went the wrong direction. All right, number 1 mistake, and I think you probably know this already, but if you haven't done anything about it, this really is the time to do something about it. And there are easy ways to fix this that we'll cover later. But if your website isn't responsive to mobile devices, you are missing out on an incredible opportunity. I think this is probably the lowest hanging fruit for improving your website. If people can't access the information on your site from their tablet, their iPhone, their Android device, whatever it is, you're literally closing your storefront doors to people who are interested in your business. You're saying, nope, sorry, I don't like people who wear high heels. You can't come in my store. Whatever the analogy is. It doesn't make sense to turn people away at your doors after you've spent so much time, marketing budget, advertising to get them there. And the fact is, consumers are using mobile devices. In recent research, we've seen just in the last year on the websites that we host, the mobile viewership has jumped from 21 to 35%. That's just in the last year. By the end of this year. Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, and to add to that, what is so amazing about tablets and mobile phones is that by the end of this year, we expect that stat to go over 50%. So just think about for a second how many people that is when they're going to the website. So if your website has 20,000 visitors in the span of a year and you're only giving half of them 10,000 a good experience, how is that going to affect your bottom line for the other 10,000?
It's hugely detrimental. I mean, it's something that, and like I said, I'm not just going to throw these mistakes out at you and not give you a way to fix them. We'll talk about that next. But I just want you to understand the gravity of this situation, because it doesn't make sense. You want your customers to have a great customer experience, and this is one way that you can make it really easy to do that. All right. Common mistake number 2. You want everybody to like you. I know this sounds counterintuitive. We've been raised by our mothers and fathers to be our very best versions of ourselves, to be polite, not to speak out, and not to make any waves. At least if your mother is anything like mine. But doing this on the web can be a huge mistake, because the people who just fit inside of the little box that your industry has created for your website aren't going to be remembered. If you don't take the time to step over the line that your industry has drawn just a little bit, I mean, you don't want to be starting catfights or wars or anything. I'm not advocating for that, but I do want you to consider using being a little dramatic here, aren't I, Scott?
Yeah, a little bit.
But go ahead.
At the end of the day, and we had a great conversation with Salt Colt in Toronto yesterday about this. When you define who your market is instead of just trying to be generic so that you can tackle all of them, you start to speak to people in a way that allow for you in your industry and in your community to really speak to someone and form an emotional bond with that person. And in marketing and branding, that's exactly what you are trying to do. So if from a website perspective, if your content is generic, and hey, we're guilty of this. If your website content is centric about you and not centric about who the person is, and then secondarily thinking about just one specific niche, who is that person that you really want to captivate when you're speaking to them on your website. If you don't do that, you're just going to be, someone that you get that one visit compared to that brand equity. And you want that brand equity so you can have brand authority.
Yep. And I think a major takeaway here is if you're defining your target market as small to medium sized businesses who are in Atlantic Canada, you're doing it wrong. There's no way to speak to that person in a way that will connect with them on an emotional level, on their gut level. So you need to be very specific about the type of person that you're trying to attract with your website. This kind of goes along the same lines. The third mistake that we see a lot is you're too professional. What I mean by this is we all get caught up with our peers. We're all very hyper aware of the industry that we're in, and we're very aware of the language that we use, and we want to impress the people that we work with, whether that's a competition, competitor, or literally the people that we work with. And if you're paying attention to that more than you're paying attention to your users, it's going to show. We'll get into this language a little bit more in just a moment. But if you're being too professional, if you're being too generic, and if you're trying to sound too impressive, you're not going to connect with your users. Number 4, you give everyone a lot of options. Sounds like a good thing, but it actually isn't. As you might know from your own experience, we're very distracted these days. There are a ton of different options. There's so many different websites. There's so many different providers for every single service out there that if you don't capture somebody's attention and move them down your funnel in a very concentrated, deliberate way, they'll find something else. A good example of this is...
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I just want, just so that you can put a little bit of background on how the funnel works in a website. I just want to just 30 seconds so that the people that we're talking to, of course, understand the meaning behind that, I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I'm guilty of it. I'm using marketing language that that not everybody uses on a day-to-day basis. And this is actually a great mini lesson to learn. If you aren't sure if you're using jargon, have somebody that's outside of your world look at your website and look at your marketing materials and make sure it makes sense to them. But anyway, so a marketing funnel is where you're leading somebody from being a visitor to actually buying your product or taking the action that you want them to take, whether that's buying, donating, joining as a member, whatever that action is. And there's going to be steps in between. People aren't usually going to be a casual web visitor and then all of a sudden buy your stuff. I mean, that's kind of the online dream, but unfortunately it doesn't really happen. There's going to be steps where you add them to an email list, they come back, you provide value to them, and then eventually once you build up enough trust, they'll become a customer. But you need to be very specific about what that next step in the funnel is. So when you're attracting people to your homepage, they probably don't know a lot about you. They're still in the mindset of, I don't really know about this person. I'm not sure if they're worth my time. I don't know if I trust them. And the next step probably needs to be a baby step. You're not going to get them to buy something from you right off the bat. So give them a very easy first step that they can take and limit all of the other options. I was going to say, a good example of this is people commonly have social media icons and feeds on their front page. And once you do all of the work of getting somebody to your homepage, I'm willing to bet that the next best move for them isn't going to be to go to your Facebook page. That's just an example of that.
Yeah, you simply just want to engage them in a different way than that. And linking outside of the site itself, it's better to get them to try to get them to share something. So number 5 that I just want to steal over from Kay for a quick second is when you're looking at a website design and when you're looking at this, you need to look at it as an investment instead of maybe, instead of it being your marketing budget. I see this as just being an investment overall. And one of the biggest problems that, and I, of course, being an entrepreneur myself, I know this problem, when you don't invest enough in what people 90% of the time is going to be your first impression ends up being weak, I'll say, and not a strong, firm handshake. Because many of you that are here, the first time that someone hears about you is going to be online. Or if they do know you, they're going to go home and they're going to search on Google about you. And if your first impression isn't, wow, they're professional, they have things together, and they really take pride in what they do, being the website, of course, then how is that going to affect, again, your bottom line and what you're doing?
Yep, and I just want to summarize this section saying, if you've committed any of the Filthy 5, it's okay. We've all been there. And thankfully, we're going to talk about next how you can actually improve these things. So don't feel bad about yourself. Don't think that you have to quit before you start, because this is all about evolution and making your business even better than it is today. So I'm going to talk pretty high level, and I know Scott will want to jump in on this topic because it's kind of in his wheelhouse, but websites are changing a lot. They've really made some exciting moves in the last, 3 to 5 years. And if you're not aware of them, you're really missing out. So I want to share some of these things with you. First of all, and this is probably going to be surprising for you if you know that we're a marketing agency and we design websites for people for our job. That's how we put food on the table. But if you still are in the do-it-yourself mode, like there's just no way that you can invest in a great website yet. There are a ton of options that can give you a really good website that are really exciting.
Very. And why we give these options, of course, is that some of these options are even what we use for our clients, because at the end of the day, you want to be using the platform and technology that's for your solution. And there's of course some e-commerce owners here, and we would typically 3 years ago we would build an entire e-commerce system. Now we would use Shopify, which is one of the best e-commerce systems in the world, and we would use the other money to actually promote and figure out how to get people engaged with that shop so that you can sell online. And that's huge. It's not always about creating, spending a ton of money on the website or the technology, but rather it's spending money on the strategy and then the marketing to follow up with it.
Yep, exactly. So there's some resources if you aren't familiar with them. I'm especially fond of Squarespace and Shopify for kind of that do-it-yourself type of website, because most of their options are responsive, like I said, and then you can concentrate on doing other things. These aren't going to work well for you if you don't have a lot of time to do it yourself, or if you really don't have training as a designer or as a content writer. That's when you bring in a professional like us once you have a little bit of a budget. But these are great options for starting. So this goes back to the common mistake number one. An exciting website technology that's happening right now is that all of the technology is kind of converging. So you have one site in most cases that you build, and it's used in so many different ways. I think this is super exciting, and it's a great trend to recognize, because if you do, it'll put you ahead of your competitors.
And it's definitely not only a trend. By 2016, 2017, mobile phones and tablets are going to be used far more than desktops. So it's one of those things that there's very solid research to say that if you have a website that's not mobile friendly and they go to your website on a mobile phone, and they can't do anything with it because it's not mobile optimized and it's not responsive, then they're going to go back, click the next result, and go from there. And I was reading a stat today, by 2017, $90 billion of commerce will be done on mobile phones.
Wow. It's incredible.
And if I can, I'll send that link along after. I'm going to have to try to dig it up because it was coming down through Twitter today.
Yeah, that's great. I know that think about your own behavior. When I'm working, I have my beautiful iMac that I use. If I'm lounging on the couch, I have my tablet, and that's when I do my shopping, my web browsing, my entertainment time on the web. So, and I'm sure it's similar for you. All right, the number 3 most exciting technology trend when it comes to your website is something that we believe in wholeheartedly at Infinitus, and it just knocks our socks off, that we can access talent. We can access content writers, we can access programmers, designers from literally across the world to help us complete the goals that we have. This is just absolutely incredible. And you have the same power either through hiring us as an agency who have built this team out already, Or again, if you have more time than you have money, you have access to talent who can help you with your social media, your website design. Literally every piece of your online business can be aided with talent from a different country. I mean, point in case, I am talking to you from Hawaii. You're probably not here with me in Hawaii, but you still get to benefit from the knowledge that I've learned over the last 10 years. And I think that's absolutely incredible.
And I believe that that's how our world is going to continue to evolve and develop. I was reading another article. Within 10 years, they expect that I believe 57 or 47% of our workforce is going to be working from home. And you're not just going to have a career for one company, but you're going to be able to bring your skills that are transferable from across the spectrum of what you've learned in your life. And that's certainly where we are going as a company and have gone. And it allows you to have some of the best results that are possible.
Isn't that exciting? Like, can you see how that can impact your business to be able to hire somebody who you probably have never met? They live hundreds of miles away from you, but they have more talent in their pinky than any of the local talent, which is, I'm not saying something negative about local talent. I'm just saying that as this world gets more specialized, you can access people who are very highly specialized in exactly the talent that you need. Super exciting. All right, so let's talk about your brand, because like I said, this is the foundation that you build your website on. This is what matters when people are deciding if they want to interact with you, if they want to build a relationship with you. You want to become a part of people's lives kind of in the way that some of these big brands have. So when you look at these brands, how do you feel about them? And the key here is, do you feel about them? Do you have a feeling or perhaps a memory or a gut reaction to these brands? And I'm willing to guess that you do have that reaction to at least some of them. And what you want to do is take the lessons that these big brands use and apply them in a smaller but even more powerful way to your small brand. So the first question that I want you to ask yourself is to fill in the blank on this question. My brand is for people who blank. This statement needs to be in your mind through every website decision that you make. So my brand is for people who are urban mothers. My brand is for people who like to explore and travel the world. My brand is for people who want to stand out and express their creativity. My brand is for people who want to feel loved and they're feeling broken down right now. Who is your brand for?
And this goes back to, you don't have to be the solution for everyone. And that's that's the way that you are different between your competition and those peers in your industry.
Yeah, exactly. So I have two examples here. One is Nike. And you get a very specific feeling. Nike is very much about the warrior ethos. Like, if you wear Nike, you are setting out to win and you're going to challenge yourself and you're going to kick butt, and it's, you're an athlete. That's what Nike stands for. Then to contrast that, look at the feeling of Lululemon. And to be honest, I might have butchered that name, and I hope I didn't, because I actually have not ever heard it spoken out loud, and it's kind of a long brand name. But
you got it.
Good. Yay. I haven't actually purchased anything from them. But contrast this feeling of peace and serenity and connecting with your mind and body. It's not that hero mentality that Nike has. This is a very different feeling. So even though they're selling the exact same product in general, they're selling workout clothes and materials, they're able to connect with a very different section of the market by the way that they make people feel. So the key here is to make people feel something and to pick one thing if you can, and really concentrate your brand language, your brand graphics, and your brand, just your message, your stories that you tell around this feeling. It's a really powerful way to narrow your brand without designating, if you're a writer, you could say, well, I'm a sales writer or I'm a blog writer. Instead of doing that, say, I'm a writer for people who want to be turned on. I have a very tactile, physical, visual way of writing. That's my style. That's my niche. So by picking one of these feelings for your brand, you can tap into a very powerful set of emotions that will make people connect with your website. And believe it or not, we still are talking about websites. This is very much about your website. It might feel kind of woo-woo and not very applicable, but if you don't nail this part, nobody's going to care about your website. If you don't make people feel something.
And we want to we want to create a website that people give a damn about.
Exactly. Because isn't that what this is all about? Like we literally have to move people into giving a damn before they're going to buy from us.
Exactly.
All right, so let's talk even more tactics. So let's talk about website copy, which is kind of my favorite thing to talk about, as Scott knows.
Yeah, you talk about that a lot.
All right, so if you've zoned out a little bit, this is where you need to come back to us and pay attention, because this is probably the most important thing and probably some of the most uncommon knowledge that you'll hear in this presentation. What I need you to do is to visit your website, and I need you to count the number of times that you say we. This is the death of you. You absolutely should be limiting the number of times that you say we as much as possible. Because whenever you say, we do this. Yep, go ahead and expand on that, Scott.
And if you say I, God help us all.
Yeah, that's probably even worse. So what's the word that you do want to be saying? You want to be saying you. You want to be talking to one specific person. You will get this. You
Look
will
at this,
feel this.
Chris Jackson got it from Youth in Motion.
Good.
He said you before it ever even happened.
Good. Yep. So if you do nothing else after this webinar, go to your website and do a we audit. Take out as many of the we's as you possibly can. Now, I have a funny example to share to illustrate this. And guess what? It's our website. This is actually in the works to be redesigned, because this is an example of what not to do. Believe it or not.
Exactly not what you want to do. And we have unfortunately created I'll call it an egocentric brand instead of a user-centric brand. And, as you see here right from the get-go, we have what we do, our work, what we do, who we are. No one really cares. No one gives a damn. They want to know exactly how that we can help them solve the problem. And if you don't do that in your website, people won't give a damn about what you do, and they don't care about what you do, because they're coming to you because they have a problem. And you are the solution provider, whether that's selling swimsuit clothing, whether that is donating money for a cause. It doesn't matter, but if you're user-centric, the person feels like they're part of the website and part of the brand, and that you're speaking to them in a level that they're not really used to on the rest of the web.
Yep, exactly. And I think we're all kind of our worst advice takers. So, we've created a ton of websites that aren't this way, but building your own. And this is a great point, because building your own, it is extremely easy to fall into this kind of language, because we're all kind of egotistic deep down. We're all human, right? So we all want people to like us. We want to show people how great that we are on some level. But that's not what your website user cares about. What they care about is, what can you do for me? How will you change my life? And that's what you need to translate to your website.
And just to add to that, Chris Jackson, sorry, just asked a great question that I just want to put in because it only takes 30 seconds. What if there's an equal amount of we and you? Shouldn't there be some give and take? What do you think, Kay?
That's a great question.
Do you want to defer until the end?
No, I want to answer it right now. I think that's a great question because I want to tackle it. So up front, I think you need to be 95% you. So when somebody first comes to your homepage and you're trying to make a connection with them and you're trying to sell to them and persuade them, it needs to be all about them. Hardly anything about you. You're still going to translate the things that you do, but you need to translate into the specific benefits, the specific situations, the specific feelings that they're going to get from you. So I encourage you to take we out of your homepage like 90% of the time. When we were redesigning this, because we've done a little bit of the writing so far, the one link that we found that we had to keep we in was how we help in the menu. So we're going to change our menu, and that was the one place where we had to keep we in, and in every other place we were able to find ways to translate that into you. This is what we do for you. So I hope that answers the question.
And Kay, I know we're going to bring this up in a second, but we had someone that asked, what is a good example? And here we go.
Yay! So this is actually one of our clients, one of our dear clients. Absolutely love the guys at Vigilant. So this is writing and design that we did for their website. So here's a great example. Your project, our shoulders. You'll feel calm and confident about your construction project with us on your side. Scroll down to see your project from idea to ribbon cutting. Can you imagine how this would sound if we flipped it? It's like, we manage construction projects. We are very professional. And that's what 95% of your competition is doing. So if you can flip this on its head, you are going to stand out so much online. Here's another one of our clients.
These guys have built a brand from, as I was just going to say on Vigilant, they've built a brand in a very small amount of time and have had quite an amount of success based on their brand. And it's because they're user-centric. They're about what is your problem, and we're here to save you time, we're here to save you money when you're building your commercial building. And it's because they're user-centric, not egocentric.
Yep, exactly. Here's another one of our clients, Avalon Laser Health, and the headline that we wrote for them was "Get Back to You." Enjoy every activity that you are passionate about without pain slowing you down. Again, I mean, if you think about the we statement, it's not going to be nearly as strong. We offer physiotherapy. We offer massage. It falls flat because you're expecting your customer to translate that into something that actually matters to them. So if you can take that extra step and translate the language that comes most naturally to you, which is probably we, because that's how you've always written, and translate into you statements and exactly how your customer is going to feel working with your organization, business, whatever type of organization you are, you're going to be so far ahead. So it's really important. This isn't our client, but it's actually a service that we just started using called You Can Book Me. And this is hands down one of my favorite examples because it's speaking my language, literally. Need people to book you, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Love it. Sign up. I'm sold.
You're such a geek, Kay.
I know. I'm a total nerd. All right. Oh, gosh. So here's the second most important lesson that you'll learn. I want you to write how your perfect blank talk. So I want you to write like your perfect clients talk, your perfect customers, your perfect donors. Shopify is just an incredible example of this, and I'll tell you why in a second. It says use Shopify to create your online store, everything you need to start selling online today. So if you were to ask Scott or I what Shopify is great for, we would tell you that it's an excellent e-commerce platform. However, the clients that they are working with, the clients that they serve, don't use the word e-commerce in any normal language of theirs at all. So what they say is use Shopify to create your online store. They're speaking literally in the language of the people that they're trying to attract. All right, moving on. We have about 15 minutes left. Shake it out. I know I'm going to shake my shoulders a little bit and keep the blood flowing because I really want to deliver as much value as possible. I hope you're seeing how these lessons are going to be super impactful for your business, because I know that when you implement these, the results are going to be absolutely amazing. So I'm going to share the surprising truth about successful about pages. Can anyone guess what that surprising truth is about your about page? The surprising truth about your about page is it's not really about you. I'm sorry, it's really not. At least not at the very top of your about page. Like I said in the beginning of this webinar, your about page is one of the highest visited sites on your site. In the case of our site, our company page is visited, I think, right after homepage. I can't remember exactly. It might be number 3.
It is.
But
yeah, no, it's the most visited.
So I want you to stop disregarding and ignoring your about page. That is probably one of the most detrimental mistakes after the homepage mistakes that we just talked about that you can make. Your about page is powerful real estate to connect with your audience and, again, reiterate what you can do for their lives. They don't care about you until maybe 7 screens down if your about page is that long. They don't want to hear your life story until they hear your point of view to see if they agree with it, to see exactly how you can impact their lives. They want to know if your product, service, organization is for them. So you need to qualify the leads on your about page and tell people exactly the kinds of clients that you want to work with and exactly the clients that you don't. That's super powerful. And lastly, on your about page, since this really is a sales page, you need to stop thinking about it like an about page and think about it like a sales page. You need to give people the next step that they would do after being introduced to you. So for us, that's to sign up for our e-newsletter. And for a lot of businesses, it's going to be the same. I encourage you, if you haven't built an email list, please do. It's one of the best things that you can do for your business. And I'm not going to go into that too much, but just do it.
It's the reason you're here. It's the reason you're here today. But to go back to this just for a quick second, when someone goes to a company page, after that, they probably want to learn a little bit more about what you do, how you can help them. So, they're probably going to go to the services page. And then they're, depending on what kind of business you're in, they want to know, what have you done so far? Your track record, reputation.
Well, they want to know if they trust you.
Exactly. Yeah. They want to understand. So after that, then you're going to try to, what we in the marketing industry called convert them. And our conversion on our website is we want you to become part of our community, our newsletter. And that's, of course, why you're here today, is because you got an email from us or Facebook message or whatever it would be. And that's applicable no matter if you're an e-commerce site or a nonprofit or service or anywhere in between.
Yep. And if you come back, the example on the screen is just a great example of an about page that isn't really about them. It's still about that person that they're trying to reach.
Just so you know, Robert, I'm gonna wait until the end so that we can answer your question.
Okay. Here's another great example. This is the about page for Frank and Oak. It's a menswear company. And he says, the mission is simple: help a generation of men dress and live well. So it's immediately telling people, hey, am I in the right place? I don't know if this website is really for me. So answer that question. Make it easy. Don't make people guess. That's the most important thing. Okay. Do I really need to be blogging? The answer is no. You don't need to be blogging, which is the surprising answer. But it has a caveat. It has a but. You really need to be creating fresh content for your website. If the word blog kind of freaks you out, I want you to just remove that from your vocabulary. Don't think about blogging. don't even think about necessarily writing if that's not your strong suit, but you do need to be creating fresh and relevant content for your website. It gives people a reason to come back. It makes Google like you. Go ahead, Scott.
And, above that, sorry to interrupt, okay? Outside of that, when you create content that's really about you and has your brand integrated in it, people just love to share it. People just love to talk about it and really listen to you. And then you become you add to this brand authority that we've been talking about time and time again. And I'm sure in the future we'll do a webinar on brand that's a little bit more specific. But when you think about content, it literally can be anything. It's an article, it's news, or it's an event, or it's a blog, or it's an infographic, or if it's a podcast, or if you do your own webinar. I mean, we did this webinar essentially completely free, and we just really talked to our network about, hey, this is the information that we're going to be sharing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that blog. And if it is, there's many different ways that you can do a blog. You can guest post. You can curate other people's information. But at the end of the day, you want to become relevant both to people, and as I always say, when you become relevant to people, you also become relevant to Google, which means more people can find you.
Yeah, which is always a good thing. And as far as writing blog content, you may have read that your blog post needs to be X number of words to be the best blog. I think the current recommendation is somewhere between 300 and 600 words. But the thing is, if that doesn't excite you, write shorter. Or maybe you're much more long-winded. Write an ebook or a guide. The point here is, don't get caught up on this word of blogging. Do what that you can most naturally fit into your business flow. So whether that's taking pictures at an event that you hold, that you're already holding, creating a training webinar like this because you're already training people on things, that is super powerful. So here's just some stats, and it's titled blogging, but what we really mean here is creating content regularly. As you can see on the screen, companies that blog generate more leads than not. And the reason is, and I'm sure a huge lesson, and I kind of keep skating over it, but a huge lesson here is to figure out how you can think like a consumer. For some reason, when we are involved in our own businesses and setting up our own stuff, we suddenly think that people want to be screamed at. Like, I have a 30% off coupon that ends this Saturday. Buy now. And we think that people are going to respond to that for some reason when we're doing it ourselves. But as a consumer, we hate that stuff. We absolutely hate it. But what we do love as consumers is we love companies that are interesting and educational, and they provide value and they're useful to us. So figure out ways that you can do that.
And to add to that, just think about being at a party and you're networking. And if you're a realtor, I see some realtors sometimes and they just keep on posting listings and there's no personality and there's nothing to it. So just think about the fact that if you were at a party, would you, be there giving out coupons? I hope not. Would you be there saying, oh, we got this great deal for $419,000 down on, Torbay Road? I really hope you don't. And it's not going to work online. We've gone past this world of just putting things out there, and we've gone into a world of you truly have to engage with your audience. If you don't, there's absolutely no way that a person's going to want to follow you. There's no way they're going to want to engage with you, and that really turns into people want to do business with people that are aligned with them. And I think that just shouting from the rooftops, they're like, well, you know what? I don't really want to do business with someone like that because they're balling in my ear, and I don't like that.
Yeah, don't be the creepy mall kiosk guy. Just don't. Demand more from your business. You can be so much more, and you'll see so much better results. And again, this advice applies to nonprofits too. Whenever I say business, I'm wholeheartedly talking about organizations, nonprofits, everybody. The same applies. We want to interact and build relationships with other humans. If you can figure out a way to make your website more human, it's going to work so much better.
Totally agree.
So just to kind of give some concrete examples for you don't have to blog. Here's some examples, and ignore the actual blog that they have on the right, but they create lookbooks of different. This is a women's apparel shopping website. They create lookbooks, which are kind of like catalogs or inspirational images using their outfits, and they publish those. I mean, what a great idea to showcase your product in a very lifestyle-oriented way. And then also, here's Harley. There's no place on their website that says blog, but if you look around, they have built out a community of information for different communities, and they have these rider stories, and they have educational content. Learn how to ride, get the skills you need to ride on your own. They're speaking the language of the people that they're trying to connect, and they're not just talking about bikes. They're not just talking about maintaining your bike or buying accessories for your bike. They're talking about the lifestyle and the freedom and the feelings that are around their product. Lastly, Kohler is kind of amazing when it comes to social media and content creation. If you're not familiar, they create like bathroom fixtures and kitchen fixtures, those kinds of things. And this is their blog. And the thing that I wanted to point out here was, there's no writing. This is completely pictures. It's actually a Tumblr blog. And then second, count the number of product photos that you see. I see 2.5, 2 1/3 maybe, of the actual product photos. And while I'm not crazy about their product photo design, I don't think it's the best way to showcase their product. The point here is they're sharing other people's stuff. They're building a community around this idea of home and this idea of, decorating your home and loving your home. They're not just talking about sinks and faucets, and you don't either. Talk about the things that surround your product, surround your organization, not necessarily being on point 100% of the time. All right, Scott, you're up. We have created a free website checklist because I know how these things go. If you don't put the actions that we talked about today into action right off the bat, you're going to go on to the next thing and you're going to forget it, and this is going to be useless. So.
And we certainly don't want that.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, no. So we want you to be able to go back and for yourself to take a look at what you're doing that you could be doing better. So I'm just gonna quickly, if I can, hopefully everyone can see this. Can everyone click on that link that I just selected?
Popped up on my end, so it looks good here.
All right, well, let's hope it pops up on everyone's. Yes, I see people. I see little farm animals at the top right in the document. So
yes.
That's good.
My favorite is anonymous penguin. I think that's hilarious.
There's animals in there. I don't even know what they are. I didn't even know they existed. So I want to, obviously, we have some questions here. And thanks Stephanie and Terry Lynn for letting us know that it worked. I have some questions here. The first one is from. Sorry, let's go back to the website checklist first. Just a quick second. Sorry, I got off topic. I'm horrible at this. So, I want you to take a good, hard, realistic look at your website, and I want you to think about what we've talked about today. Are you user-centric or ego-centric? And then what are you trying to get people to do when they go on your website? What is that end goal? Why do you have a website outside of, you got to have one? So take a look at that. Go through our quick website checklist. We'll talk about this again and after the questions here, which is the very, very end tidbit and the secrety bit at the very end. So all 31 people that are here, please don't leave. All right, so let's go through these questions that we have here, and if anyone has any question, we have 3 here right now, but we'd love to have a couple more and probably fill up 10 or 15 minutes more. Of course, if you got to leave, certainly go ahead. So I have, what if you, the person, is the brand for the site? So in terms of personal branding, for instance, all the people who are well known in WordPress circles, such as I think Lemma, Rebecca, Dias, I'm sorry, I'm bad at names, etc., have their own site. So we're talking about personal branding, Kay.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite topics,
Um,
actually, and something that we've been diving into lately. Is there a second question or
no,
just
that
about the
that's
personal brands?
yeah, exactly.
So, being a personal brand, you actually have a unique opportunity because it's much easier to look human when you are human. So, you don't have to worry about building a personality around your brand. You can just use your personality or define your personality, define the way that you want to make people feel and use that. So, you have an incredible opportunity if you're using your personal brand. It can be harder to scale later, and there's some downsides to doing that. But by having a personal brand, just make sure that you're always translating what you do into tangible, specific results for the people that work with you. Don't get caught into the trap of trying to validate your existence so much that you forget to tell people how they're going to benefit. I think that's the
And a
most
little,
important thing.
and I totally agree. We have a follow-up question for that, in which, in those cases, the We audit and the About Us page rules are different than the ones we discussed for the corporate brand.
Not really. I mean, we all of us, every single one of us in this webinar right now need to stop using the word we so much. We need to stop talking about ourselves. You need to talk about the people that you help. As a personal brand, instead of we, you might need to do an I audit. That's the difference. You need to
Yeah,
audit all of the I's out of your website.
and it's not easy, both in, I'm used to saying we way more than I should. And last week I got my hand slapped by this with a great conversation with a great person, Chris Brogan. And it is hard both in your daily life to stop saying it. It is hard to change the copy, but once you do it, people respond different because they feel like they're a part of whatever you're working on.
Yeah.
So next question here. We have from Saul Pincus. I cannot believe I cannot say your last name. I'm so sorry. It's bad because we've been working together for like 6 months. So it says, "Hi Scott and Kate. Excellent webinar. In terms of generating leads, how do you feel about tweeting versus blogging?" And I'm going to go back and say that one goes hand in hand with the other, because tweeting allows you to talk about the blog, and blogs allow content on that platform, on that content delivery platform.
Yep.
Okay, what do you think?
So my thoughts are, and this is kind of unusual, not everybody says this. I believe that social media exists solely to send people to your website. So you have these outposts around the world. You have outposts around the internet. So you have your Twitter feed and you have your Facebook feed, and these are all great places to tap into the existing communities there and send them back to your websites to convert them to a lead. And
Exactly.
to do that effectively, I highly recommend having a blog so that you're not just shouting about your business. You're not just saying, go work with us on our website, and then trying to do that lead or that conversion to a lead kind of dry like that. I recommend having a blog so that you have a lot of things that you can point people to on your website without always promoting yourself. You're promoting your information as opposed to yourself all the time.
Exactly. We have a question from Chris Jackson. I think it may be a little bit deeper than this conversation is, but what is an index page and an index link? And that sort of gets us into a conversation of search engine optimization, which, I'm not gonna answer your question.
I'll touch on it because one of our stats on the blogging thing mentions index pages.
Right.
The thing about that is search engines tend to like very highly relevant and cared about information. So the more information that you have, the more chances that Google's going to find something that they want to send people to. That's kind of the overall action. I'm not going to get into the SEO specifics because I'm not an SEO guru, but that's the takeaway that you should take from that.
And what I want to add to that, and that's great for putting a little bit of background there. Search engine optimization has changed a lot in the last few years as social networks have become a lot more relevant. And you see Google Plus, Facebook, and Twitter, and all these, and because so Google now looks at your engagement rates and who are interacting with you. And search engine optimization, as it was 5 years ago, was really dead, right? So it looks at create content for people, and Google will understand that people are sharing it and seeing it and thinking about it, and then they'll simply go, and Google's just going to be there like, okay, well, this information is getting shared, this company or this association, organization must be relevant. And then to follow up on that, I always use this example. Google will show you when you don't need Google. And it's sort of like high school prom date, the girl will go out with you when you don't want to go out with her. and that's exactly what social media has done to change Google. And Google, of course, has adopted this.
Yep, and I think the takeaway there is build a brand, build a website. Those two kind of go hand in hand online that people give a damn about. You will be so much more productive focusing on that aspect. The SEO will come, and I think that's what Scott's trying to say. It becomes secondary once you're not trying to focus on those little details. Focus on the big picture of making people care first.
Exactly. I have a question here well, not really a question, more of a statement from Terry Lynn. Of course, she's gone to her website, of course, to the Deer Lake Chambers website already, and the Chambers website is deaf and egocentric website. And listen, you know what? If your website right now is egocentric, don't worry about it. At least you're still here. At least you're still doing business. And all we're trying to do is create the primer to make you go to the next level.
Yep. You are in the 95%. When you move away from that, when you move into a extremely user-centric website with user-centric language, you are going to stand out so much. I'm really blown away by the results that you get by translating your language to talk to that person that you want to do business with.
Exactly. So we have another SEO question from Jordan.
Okay.
Is there anything that can be done to ensure our website shows up when people are searching the services we offer on Google? Meaning, if they are not necessarily searching our company name. Well, Jordan, that is a huge question, and I'm going to defer what I was talking about a minute ago in terms of search engine optimization. There's obviously paid options that are there, such as Google AdWords, but when it comes to being the best on Google for different keywords, it takes a little bit of strategy, a little bit of research to know what people are searching for, and then follow that by great content that Google is going to say, you know what, these blogs or these infographics or these videos or whatever it would be are absolutely brilliant because people are sharing it, people are commenting on it, and it's being curated around the web. So we're going to show them on the first page when you type in whatever that keyword would be. And that's the new way of search engine optimization. You see a lot of these search engine optimization companies kind of either rebranding themselves as social media companies, which I'm not really sure how great that works, or number two, they just they're beating on a drum that's a little bit old. So that's my best advice for that is just that quality of content. And there doesn't have to be a huge quantity, but the quality just has to be there and a little bit of strategy.
Yep, okay, and make it excellent. Everything? Make it excellent. Like if you are writing about something that's been talked about, make sure you put your own unique spin on it. Make it worthy of people's attention. Be very Be very mindful for the attention that you're asking from people. If you do that and you provide amazing information that's worth sharing, you'll get rewarded in Google for that.
Exactly. I'm going to answer a couple more questions, but before I do, I'm going to give the secret-y bit.
Yeah, good.
So that, because I know that some people have to leave because they have rumbly tummies, like myself. So I just sent you a link, and if you want to chat with us, a free 1-hour consultation after 3 o'clock in the day Newfoundland time, because we don't want Kay to be getting up too early in the morning.
Thank you.
If you want to have a 1-hour consultation just to talk about some of the things that we've talked about here, there's no sales pitch. We talk about you. We don't talk about us because if we did, well, that would kind of suck. But we want to get to know you, and we want to, of course, create more content and more webinars on things that are relevant to you as a person. So whether you go and sign up to that there, or if you send us an email, and I know that a few of our clients are here. If you want to talk about any of this information, obviously give myself or Kay an email. But if you don't know us that well, put your information in there. We'll get in contact with you right away. We'll schedule up some time in the next couple of weeks, and we'll talk through this. And regardless of where you're to in your website, whether you have another agency, whether you're doing it in-house for yourself, whatever it is, at the end of the day, we want to help you.
Yep, absolutely. And it helps us because we get to listen to what you're concerned about with your website, and it helps us create content that is going to be great.
Exactly. So the next question comes from Remy. I believe that's how I pronounce it. I'll use the name I can pronounce, which is Richard. I saw that most of the website examples you've shown are very clean pages. I was wondering how you can make sure that Google can direct keywords about specific products or aspects of your website. I'm a broken record. And I'm going to go back and say that Google doesn't put a huge amount of stress on how keywords work anymore, not the way that they used to be. So when you see really clean websites, Google from a code perspective kind of gives you the thumbs up for that. And then second, that when you're there on your website and you have this great content that's there, that's what Google's looking at. They're not so much, they're not looking at the meta tags and all the traditional things that you'll hear SEO consultants talk about. They're looking about where are you to online? Do you have content that is user-centric, and just simply talk about what you're doing. And that's the method in our 2014 generation.
And I want to say this, Google's not going to give you a donation. Google's not going to buy your products or hire you for your services. If you are more concerned about Google than your customers, it's going to hurt you more than it helps you. It really pays to pay attention to your customer's experience, because that's where the growth will happen. It's kind of the internet's sexy fairy tale that you just put a website up and Google sends a ton of traffic and these people just automatically buy from you. And that may have worked back in 2005, 2006, but that's not the case anymore. You have to really step up your game and make sure that you're providing value and really catering towards the people that you're serving, not to Google.
Exactly. Another great question here. Absolutely great question. And again, if you have any more questions, I'm fine, man. I could stay here all night talking about this stuff. Like, seriously, like, if there's anything that's ever on your mind, I love talking about this stuff. I'm so passionate about it. So I'm working on a website. So this is from Donna. I'm working on a website for professional organization. What is the best piece of advice you can give our organization in terms of our approach for attracting professionals to our website to become members? Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that we need to know a whole lot more about you in order to give you that real advice on how to attract those members.
I'll take a stab at it, or you're probably going to take a stab at it too.
No, you know what? You go for it.
I was going to say, in the most basic sense, you need to create a reason that's insanely valuable so that once they get to your website that they want to become a member. So really think about what they want, like what keeps them up at night. That's like the most overused cliche in the world, but it works because we've all been there. We've been sitting in our bed stressing about the next day. Figure out what that is for those members and make sure that you're helping to solve that problem. And then secondarily, once you figured out how to solve that problem, show that you know how to solve it. So start creating content that shows that you solve that problem and share it in communities where those members hang out. A lot of times nowadays, that's on social media. So they are probably on LinkedIn. They might be on Facebook. They're probably on Twitter. So you might want to build outposts in those areas so that you can attract people back to your website.
Totally agree. Do you, okay, so you in quotations, do the you version work for business to business? I would say yes
Absolutely.
right off
Yeah.
the get-go. Hell yes.
Yep.
In a way that is so substantial that it's not 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% difference. I am talking a huge amount of difference. And I've been seeing this just since we've been changing, instead of seeing come and sign up to our webinar, it's Kay Putnam is going to kick your ass about your website.
And this is what you are going to learn. You always have to remember that even if you're targeting an organization, quote unquote, or a business, quote unquote, there's still a human that's making that decision. There's still a human that is finding you on the web and deciding if you matter. Talk to that human.
Exactly. We have another one here from Catherine. That's our last one. So if there's any other questions, please get them while we're going through here, or forever hold your peace.
Or just sign up for a consultation in the link in the chat box.
Yeah, exactly. we can, of course, do that. Some nice examples of image content to post for products, but what type of content would you suggest for a service?
I'd love to know what kind of service, but I'll be more general. A great way to, there's two things I think that you need to create content-wise for a service. You need to create content about the people's lives that are using your service. So like kind of tangent topics. And then also you need to show your work. Literally share your industry secrets. Because that's what we're doing in this webinar right now. We offer the services of creating awesome websites that work. But at the same time, we're showing our work and we're telling you exactly how we do it. So if you do want to go out and do it yourself, you have this great information now, but more likely you're a busy entrepreneur, you're a busy manager, you don't have the time to do this all yourself. So by showing our work and showing that we know what we're talking about, it creates trust, and you know that we can help you with your problem if you choose to hire us.
Yes, Donna, the 1 hour consultation certainly is free. Just as a question there. And that is outside of all the thank yous, which thank you so much for.
Thank you for spending time with us today.
I have to say that when so many people signed up for the webinar and of course followed up here, both of us are just so happy to be able to share this information, because it's what we're passionate about, it's what we love to do, and it's a ton of fun, and we love helping our clients. We love helping the people that are really the next generation of entrepreneurs and startups and business owners.
I have some homework for you too when you're done. Sorry.
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I would absolutely love if you found any value in this whatsoever. Either tweet to us or send us an email and tell us what your favorite part was, what your biggest takeaway was, and then also where we can improve. This is actually our first webinar that we're hosting, and we'd love to get better at it. So if you could do one of those two things, that would mean the world to me. And thank you so much for your time.
It really would. And also, if you haven't signed up to our e-newsletter, go over to goinfinitus.com, go to the bottom, put your email address in there. We're actually launching our podcast in about 3 weeks, and we're going to be talking weekly with some really cool people from across the world about some really super awesome stuff and all around marketing strategy and so on. And we would love to have you there. And Kathy Hickman, thank you so much for those kind words. If I can copy and paste that as a testimonial about what we're doing, that would be so awesome. You're great.
Scott, do you think you could drop in our email addresses just into the chat box in case people don't have easy access to them?
Sure. So this is me, and that, of course, is Kay. And if you can't spell infinitus, which I'm not going to hold it against you, there's our website.
All right. Well, we will get out of your hair and let you get back to work or back to your families or back to dinner, whatever it is. Thank you so much for being here. And please send us that email to let us know what your biggest takeaway was and what we could do better next time. And just keep an eye out. I have a feeling that we'll be hosting more of these in the future.
And just so everyone knows, I saw a couple messages here that people arrived late and so on. We'll be sending out the recording along with the other information that we've included here tomorrow, probably, depending on how technology treats us today. And you can certainly review it whenever you want.
Yep, exactly. All right. Thank you guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone.